out cute succulents. We wanted to keep it cost effective, so we went for smaller succulents and smaller plants and bushes. And next thing you know, they all grew and they started flowering, and we're left with this. So we're very happy.
They're also winners in LA's Drop Defender Awards, an effort from the Mayor's Office and the Department of Water and Power recognizing excellence in water conservation. Winners were selected through response on social media.
Just because we've had pretty wet winter so far, it doesn't change the need to save and continue to do everything we can to reduce water use.
Peter Ford is another Drop Defender winner. He says before every hot shower, he fills a bucket with the cold water that runs before it turns warm and uses this unused shower water for his garden. It's all on his website, helpsavecalifornia.com.
On the website, I calculated it's about 2,000 gallons a year that each family can save, and that's on the low estimate. So it's a real help when everybody comes together and makes that little effort, that tiny little effort.
All very important tips. Also very important to point out that even though our DWP rates are going up, doesn't mean you'll have to pay more. In fact, you can cut your bills significantly if you make smart decisions, and who knows, your yard could end up looking better than ever. In Hyde Park, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The campaign selected one winner from each of the 15 city council districts. Well, you might have money coming back this tax season and not even know it. City leaders are pushing their Free Tax Prep LA, a free tax program for families with limited incomes. Anna Marcos takes a look.
Florida Daniels, a retired LAUSD worker, is prepared as she enters the Watts Family Source Center. She is armed with all her tax papers, ready to take advantage of the Free Tax Prep LA program, and she's hoping to get a big tax break like she got on a previous year.
That little money I got back was wonderful. It helped me so with my grandchildren. We went into Sears. Sears had a terrific sale there on the dresses.
City leaders are pushing their Free Tax Prep LA campaign, which provides free tax preparation for all Angelino families making under $64,000 a year. There's a lot of tax credits you may not even know you had coming.
We've had several people who are homeless, working homeless individuals, and they've actually used the return to secure housing.
So what kind of cash back are we talking about? Well, if you're a family with 3 or more kids, you can expect up to $6,000 in earned income tax credit. That's EITC. Add to that another $2,000 or $3,000 in other tax credits as well.
Many of our households are working, at the $20,000, $18,000, even the $16,000 range. And so when you put $6,000 or $8,000 on top of that, you've increased the household income by more than 30%. That's major.
If we put the funds into their pockets and then they begin to spend the money into our economy, that stimulates our economy.
For more information on getting free tax preparation, visit www.freetaxprepla.com. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
And a disclaimer, not everyone will qualify for the full amount of tax credits. Well, are you looking for a job? Well, good news, the city of LA is hiring. So are California's most cutting-edge companies. Employers recently gathered in downtown on the lookout for top talent. Gil Reyes has more.
The line to enter snaked around nearly 3 city blocks. Thousands of techies looking for work.
I'll be graduating this May, so I want to start searching for jobs.
I can work both ends. I can be an operational person or I can be a developer person, whatever anybody wants.
We are at the Wreath in downtown Los Angeles for what's being billed as the largest job fair in Southern California. More than 10,000 job seekers looking for work with over 250 tech firms. Welcome to Tech Fair LA.
Big companies like YouTube, Snapchat, SpaceX, and Tesla. They're all here, and job seekers can speak directly with company executives. The event is free. Jason Nazar of the firm called Comparably hosts the event with the mayor's office.
You've got a lot of amazing companies that are actively hiring, and they're looking for great talent. And you have all these amazing Los Angelinos with a diverse set of skills. And it's our job and responsibility to connect those great candidates to those companies.
The city of Los Angeles is also hiring.
We're looking for engineers, we're looking for IT people, we're looking for management.
The city's information technology agency oversees video services for the city. At the booth they've set up, they're using virtual reality goggles to offer tours of the workplace. Just strap them on.
This is our VR. We have videos of, say, the observation deck at City Hall. We also have our New Year's Eve. We did the New Year's Eve event at City Hall. It's all in VR, so we can experience it. We're going to try to do that. We're also going to try to do some live streaming of those events, also in VR.
Virtual reality. It could be part of the job if you end up working for ITA. Outside that, the entire city family is looking to fill positions, as nearly half of its workforce will be eligible for retirement next year. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Information Technology Agency is also the agency that oversees Channel 35 and this newscast. Well, LA's brightest and finest science students from around the city are putting their brains to the test as they prepare for a science and technology-geared competition. Rasha Goel has more.
Interrupt, be Captain 0. That is correct.
These are the future inventors of Los Angeles. 230 top science students, 46 teams from 26 high schools are preparing to compete in the LADWP Science Bowl regional competition. Today's scrimmage is set up in a game show format.
The teams are in 10 different rooms. We have 2 teams going head-to-head with toss-up and bonus questions.
North Hollywood High School has been among the top competitors.
We've won this competition, the LADWP won 17 times in the last 19 years. We won nationals once, and a couple of seconds, and a couple of thirds, and they're always strong.
The winning team at the regional competition will then go on to compete at the U.S. Department of Energy's National Science Bowl, held in the spring, a competition where LA students have a chance to shine.
I love chemistry, so I think, if I study more and more, I think I could make it. I think I could answer most of the questions.
And while the competition focuses on challenging the students' potential, it also is a platform that encourages them to pursue careers in science.
We want to encourage students from all backgrounds and all parts of the city to pursue studies and careers in math, science, and technology. The city needs engineers, scientists. The Department of Water and Power needs hires engineers and scientists.
I love science, and this is something that I get to do to pursue that interest, and it's just a really great experience.
An experience that may prove to be the right mix of elements for future success. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
LADWP Science Bowl is one of 10 regional competitions in California and 65 nationwide. Well, did you know that ships are some of our heaviest polluters? But they don't have to be, and the Port of LA is getting on board with an investment of $150 million into alternative green energy and something called AMP technology. Anna Marco shows us the latest ship to get amped up and what it's all about.
The cable is now connected, and the battleship Iowa becomes the latest ship to get plugged into clean and green energy at the Port of LA through the AMP system, which stands for Alternative Maritime Power.
Shoreside power technology has helped us to substantially reduce ship emissions here in America's busiest trade gateway.
Plugging a ship into AMP and taking it off diesel energy while it's on shore is the emissions equivalent of taking 33,000 cars off the road in one day. The Port of LA led the way in creating AMP technology in 2004, and it is now built into all new ships around the world.
The Port of Los Angeles was the first worldwide port in introducing the AMP technology that is used on more than 600 ships.
It was technology like this that has now become California state law and a global standard for our industry.
Today, the battleship Iowa is going one better when it comes to going green. It's about to make all 10,000 lights on its decks more earth-friendly as well.
We're right now working to upgrade our interior lighting. It's 1980s lighting, and it's our fluorescent lamps, and we're working on LED lights, which should reduce our power expenditure by about 66%.
The Battleship Iowa, being a teaching museum, has even built an exhibit to teach visitors about the impact of AMP technology, because even an historic ship has to look forward to the future when it comes to greening the environment. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Ships are responsible for about half of all port pollution in the South Bay. Well, back in downtown LA, a sculpture in the Civic Center could be receiving the musical makeover it deserves after 40-plus years of ridicule. Gil Reyes has more. Gil.
Well, Yana, this public art piece in downtown Los Angeles has had several unflattering nicknames over the years, including the Tri-Foolery and 3 wishbones in search of a turkey. But now a group of city preservationists may have the financial backing to finally turn this into something very special.
The last time it lit up and broadcast music was more than a year ago on its 40th anniversary celebration, and many of the lights didn't even work. Since then, the art piece known as the Triforium has stood without a purpose. In fact, the 60-foot-tall sculpture built by the late artist Joseph Young has never lived up to its full potential.
He saw this as a musical instrument that people could play, that people could interact with. But you're making this in conjunction with Los Angeles City, so you have a lot of people you need to talk to and a lot of people you need to convince, a lot of moving parts. It ran over budget, tragically, and so it has a bumpy start and never really gets off the ground. So it just sort of sat here and waited and waited and waited and waited.
Enter Tom Carroll and his friends at the Triforium Project. They've received a $100,000 grant from the Goldhirsch Foundation to refurbish the lights and, yes, make the music from it composed by the public, instead of being blared from a CD player or hidden keyboardist. How? Well, with planned motion sensors placed around the sculpture. LA-based electropop band Yacht are partners in this project.
We can build a very inexpensive computerized network system that allows people not only to create music by running around and dancing with the Triforium and creating footfall-based, sensor-based reactions,
but also to send small compositions from their smartphones to the Triforium to play. So anyone, you don't have to be a musician, you can just tap out a few different color bars and send your piece right to the work itself.
We think it'll cost more than $100,000, unfortunately, to do all of that. So we're right now in this process of identifying other grants, potentially city funds, other partnerships, and really to kind of realize the idea of what the Triforium was always supposed to be, but that the technology didn't permit in 1975.
A musical instrument anyone can play. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The group believes the project fits right in with Councilman Jose Huizar's plan to turn the Civic Center into a more pedestrian-friendly, dynamic destination. Well, authorities arrest several suspects wanted in connection with a deadly fire that happened more than 2 decades ago. A new bridge over the Los Angeles River helps connect the San Fernando Valley with downtown LA. And city officials get ramped up for a new skate park. All these stories in City Beat. More than 20 years after a massive fire at a Westlake apartment building killed 10 people, including 7 children and 2 pregnant women, authorities have arrested the suspects accused of setting the blaze. Prosecutors plan to file 12 counts of capital murder charges against alleged gang members Ramiro Alberto Valerio and Joseph Alberto Mong. Another suspect, Joanna Lopez, was charged in 2011 with murder related to the fire and was already being held. Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck said the suspects were involved in large-scale narcotic sales, adding that detectives just would not let go of this case. New evidence and witnesses helped investigators identify the arson suspects. Officials described the fire as the deadliest arson in state history.
We believe the most horrific case of arson in the city of Los Angeles history.
City leaders and community members recently celebrated the grand opening of the newly constructed Riverside Drive Bridge and Roundabout. The new bridge is approximately 1,200 feet in length and includes a barrier-protected auxiliary lane for bicyclists and pedestrians. The project is the first bridge in the city of LA that has a Class 1 bike path. At the end of the bridge, there is a new multi-lane roundabout, also the first in LA. The $60 million investment was made possible with funding from multiple sources. City Council District 13, the Department of Recreation and Parks, and the city's Bureau of Engineering announced that funding has been identified to start work on a new skate park located at the Echo Park Recreation Center, replacing this abandoned and graffitied pool near the 101 freeway. The designs include a mini bowl in the center of the park and street-style elements along the park perimeter. The venue will be geared toward both beginning and intermediate level skaters and utilize 7,000 square feet of space at the recreation center.
There's going to be a lot of elements that skaters will love, but young skaters are especially going to love this skate park.
Get up close and personal with Curious George and Daniel Tiger from PBS Kids. Have a sweet tooth? Well, this convention will certainly satisfy all of your cravings. And the Harlem Globetrotters put on quite a show on the court. All this in this week's Things to Do. The Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens hosts PBS Socal Kids Weekend. The event fills the zoo's eucalyptus grove with a variety of engaging fun for families with book readings, themed crafts, activities, and a kids' dance party. Guests can enjoy a special opportunity to take photos with PBS Kids characters Curious George and Daniel Tiger from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. PBS Socal Kids Weekend activities are free with paid admission to the LA Zoo. It all takes place on Saturday, February 18th and Sunday, February 19th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more, visit lazoo.org. Meet thousands of Californians who share your brand's love for all things sweet, salty, and savory in the world of baking and sweets. Dubbed the West Coast's biggest baking and pastry convention, the LA Cookie Con and Sweet Show is coming to the Los Angeles Convention Center. You'll be able to see, sample, and create delicious treats. Get your taste buds and sweet tooths ready for one sweet event. The convention will have celebrity chefs, special guests, a kids zone, baking workshops, a diverse array of free samples, and a baking contest. It all takes place on February 18th and 19th. For more, visit lacookiecon.com. The original Harlem Globetrotters are preparing for their action-packed 2016-2017 tour. A star-studded roster will have fans on the edge of their seats to witness the ball-handling wizardry, basketball artistry, and one-of-a-kind family entertainment that thrills fans of all ages. For 90 years, the Harlem Globetrotters have provided smiles, encouraged sportsmanship, and service to millions of people worldwide. A mix of athleticism, entertainment, trick shots, and ball handling will keep the family smiling and entertained. Don't miss your chance in seeing this iconic team in action. Visit harlemglobetrotters.com for more. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacitywiew.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Graffiti removal? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, February 14th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Would you please call a roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris-Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Weezer moves, Price seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Bonin moves, Buscaino seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, today is Tuesday and time for the flag salute.
Okay, why don't we all rise? Mr. Koretz, would you lead us in our flag salute? Mr. Paul Koretz.
Please place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Paul Koretz. Madam Clerk, let's continue and go through the agenda.
Items 1 through 11 are items noticed for public hearing.
Okay, do you have cards?
There are cards on item 1.
Let's hold that item. Prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you. Continue.
And, Mr. President, the orders for items 2 through 11 will be held over for 1 week unless reconsidered with 12 members present.
Thank you very much. Continue.
Items 12 through 27 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Specials, members, specials. Okay, I don't see any, so let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Continue, Madam Clerk.
And again, Mr. President, those orders will be held over for 1 week.
Thank you.
Items 28 through 36 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Mr. Koretz?
I'd like to ask that we call 31 special.
Let's hold.
And also that we reconsider item 18 and continue that for 2 weeks.
Okay, let's hold 31 and let's vote on reconsideration on item 18, was it?
Yes.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, we will hold that item until February 28th, Mr. Koretz. Madam Clerk, that brings us where?
That takes us back to the items 28 through 36, and there are cards on item 28, 29, 31, 32, and 34.
Okay, let's hold those items and then let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Continue.
On the supplemental agenda, item 37 is an item for which a public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, that item is before this body.
And there are cards on 37.
Okay, continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations or items called special.
All right, Mr. Walsh, I'm going to call up, we're going to do general public comment and public comment now. I'm calling up Mr. John Walsh. Mr. Walsh has cards on items 1A, 28A, 29, 32, 34, 37. Yes, Mr. Walsh.
That should be 3. John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, tweeting at HollywoodDems, or J. Walsh Confidential. Number 29, Reap, you do an excellent job as a renter. I've never had a single complaint about this city. I'm not one of these guys that say you're all a bunch of crooks. When you do a good job, I'm the first to congratulate you. And Trump's executive order Stay away from Trump. He's sinking himself. He's slitting his own throat. And what are you doing? Playing Me Too. This is L.A. This is not Libya. Forget about Libya. You want to kick Trump when he's down. Forget about all this stuff on the agenda about Trump. Meanwhile, you do nothing for Muslims here in the city of Los Angeles, but all refugees from entering for 120 days. This is old news warmed over. Stop it. No. Forget about it. Take it off the agenda. As if we didn't know about this. The courts are taking care of this. They don't need you assholes up here to jump on top of Trump. He's destroying his own credibility. That's 29. And 32. 32 is, okay, Bruce Johnson murdered. Again, you post these rewards, about 100 a year. You never pay them out. Once someone applied for the reward and you refused it. That's in the agenda. That happened. You're never going to catch anyone. The perfect crime is for a gangster to kill another gangster or to kill anybody who's innocent. Everybody knows that. You're afraid of the gangs. Even the LA Times won't write the story. And the difference between Chicago and LA is we have a gang truce between the Crips and the Bloods in this city. And that's why the murder rate is so low compared to Chicago. Everybody knows it. It hasn't appeared in the Times. Once it appears in the Times, then it's received wisdom. Number 32 and then number 34. This is the opening of the street banners are okay. We need street banners. And you can take your 17 seconds. And now I'm going to go into general public comment.
Here's your minute.
1 minute. General public comment.
Wait a second.
HollywoodHighlands.org. Measure S. Measure S is just fantastic. See this? This is all the mail I'm getting from Yes on S. Huge amounts of money are being spent. It's on television. Everybody's pulled back. Bonin is on the cusp of breaking with you people and supporting Measure S. Measure S is going to be an enormous victory. Join us. Measure S is where it's going to happen. And Richard Riordan is in favor of it. It's not a Democrat-Republican thing. We have too many high rises. And I want to say to every black person, go out in the street and look at the construction site and see if you can find one black face in construction. It's all whites and Hispanics. That's what it is. And you damn well know it.
Thank you. Your time has expired. And Madam Clerk, that concludes the multiple items section of today's agenda. At this point, let's vote on items 1, 28, 29, 32, and 34. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, so now our general public comment portion of today's agenda is closed as well. With that said, I'm going to look to Mr. Huizar. Mr. Huizar, are you ready with your presentation? Then the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm very happy today to acknowledge and recognize some educational leaders and an educational institution in the east side of Los Angeles in Boyle Heights. And I want to congratulate the KIPP Los Angeles College Preparatory Middle School on being one of only 2 LAUSD schools to earn the prestigious 2016 National Blue Ribbon Schools Award. Let's give them a big round of applause. KIPP LA is not only one of 2 LAUSD schools to receive the prestigious Blue Ribbon Award, they are the second highest performing middle school in the Los Angeles Unified School District. And while a majority of students come from low-income families, with 94% of KIPP LA prep students qualifying for free and reduced price lunch, the Blue Ribbon Award they received from the Department of Education recognizes its academic excellence as exemplary high-performing school regardless of family income level. This award is 100% based on academic merit, and we're so very proud of them. We're particularly proud of them because in the short years they've been around, they show us that no matter where our students come from, whether their social or economic status, or whether or not the students are undocumented, whether their parents speak some other language than English, all students can achieve to their highest potential if they are given that potential. I got to know KIPP LA when I was on the school board, and they asked me to go visit them at some gym or a small room out in Boys and Girls Club in Lincoln Heights. And I was so impressed with their college preparatory vision, their excitement for their students to prepare themselves to go on to college. And everything was, as you walked around that small little room, was about learning and preparing themselves to go on to college. Soon after that, they were looking for another location. They found a location in Boyle Heights, an old tostada factory. For those of you who don't know what a tostada is, how can I explain it? I'll explain it later. An old tostada factory. And they turned it into one of the highest performing schools, not only in Boyle Heights, but all of LAUSD. We are so very proud of them because not only did they bring more opportunities for our young people in Boyle Heights, but if you look at Boyle Heights, which had one of the most overcrowded high schools west of the Mississippi at Roosevelt High School, now it celebrates the Oscar de la Hoya Animo Charter High School. It also celebrates the Mendes High School, and we have a more focused learning environment at many of these schools. I would like to acknowledge some of the leaders who made this possible, and obviously, along with them, we want to thank our teachers, we want to thank our parents, and certainly the students who made it all possible. But these leaders show us what's possible when you take students, no matter where they come from, and have them achieve their God-given potential. So let me introduce you to school leader Carlos Lanuza and KIPP LA Schools CEO Marcia Aaron to say a few words. Welcome them, please.
Let's give them a round of applause. Welcome.
Thank you. I want to personally thank Councilmember Huizar for this recognition and the City Council for this recognition. I know our families, students, and community will really appreciate and just love this recognition. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to really give the children of Boyle Heights the education they deserve. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I just want to acknowledge Councilman Huizar for the critical role he played in making sure that KIPP LA Prep could be successful, and the fact that we do have a building and we're in a permanent site in Boyle Heights. And we really appreciate your ongoing support. At KIPP LA, we're focused on making sure that all of our children are on a path to and through college. And I'm really proud of the fact that 73% of our exiting 8th graders are either persisting in college or have completed college. That's what we really try to strive for, all children in Los Angeles having access to great public education. So thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And congratulations again. And Mr. President, this is an extreme honor for the City of Los Angeles to have in its midst one of very few hundreds of schools throughout the country that get this recognition by the Department of Education. Truly a celebration. And more importantly, when you look at a community like Boyle Heights, that in the 90s, all you saw on CNN across the country was film after film about how this was a gang capital of the country, and now to have an institution like this be there and show what our kids can do if they're given those opportunities. And for me, it's a personal pride. My elementary school's down the street, so it's great to see these young kids going there. It reminds me of myself and the opportunities that can exist for those young people and many immigrant families, many people whose parents probably had no more than an elementary education. So on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, we want to present this to KIPP LA Schools for their 2016 National Blue Ribbon Schools Award from the Department of Education. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, again, congratulations. And Madam Clerk, we now have 12 members. So why don't you identify the ordinances, and then we'll vote on reconsideration.
And there are ordinances for items 2 through 11, 13, 14, and 15.
Okay, so this first vote is on reconsideration. Members, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now we will actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. That brings us where?
That takes council to items called special, either 31 or 37.
Okay, let me check with Mr. Koretz. Mr. Koretz, would you like to move to item 31?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer a heartfelt thank you to the group of residents from Westwood Horizons, Tiverton, that are here today, and let's give them a big hand for making the trek over here. Since early in December, I've been helping to fight to keep these senior citizens in their homes and to keep everyone at Westwood Horizons from being evicted. I sent a letter to the Director of Planning. I launched a pressure campaign directed at the company and had people calling them and emailing them, all the top management of that company, and they have definitely noticed. I asked in a motion on December 13th to ask the City Attorney's Office to look at injunctions and other ways that we could halt this process, and I thank everyone on the council for supporting those efforts. I've been holding meetings with the residents, with their relatives, with Beth Sedek, who represents more than half of them now, and I've also spoken with the people from Watermark. Today my motion before you is to direct the city's Housing and Community Investment Department to report back within 2 weeks on making a determination as to whether the building should be designated as a residential hotel pursuant to the Los Angeles Municipal Code. Designating the property as a residential hotel will make the property ineligible for the Ellis Act evictions and require an alternative approach to renovating the building. This is what the residents want. This is what I believe will provide better options for them, and I ask for your support. As much as I'd like to ask the City Council to simply classify the building as a residential hotel, the LA Municipal Code is clear that only the Housing Department has the jurisdiction, not the Council. So I respectfully ask my colleagues for an aye vote so that the Housing Department can work very expeditiously on this matter. The health and safety of these seniors must be protected while keeping their living arrangements intact. So thank you, everyone, and I urge an aye vote.
Okay, Mr. Koretz, we have some cards on this item. So I want John Toro, Allison Marty, Catherine Careful, please come forward.
Council President, if you don't mind, my name is Rocky Delgadillo.
In fact, we have our former city attorney with us today, Rocky Delgadillo. Everybody give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping I would want to speak with the other three cards you mentioned, and if you don't mind if I could go first.
No, you can open up.
I appreciate it. Okay. Well, good morning, Council President and honorable council members. First of all, we agree with the council office and most of the people involved here that seniors matter. In fact, we think they matter so much that our client wants to make this building as safe as possible for the residents and ultimately provide a state-of-the-art licensed facility providing assisted living, which it doesn't provide now, and other critical services to seniors. In fact, Watermark's business is to make seniors thrive. That's what they do. So today I'm urging you to consider the facts. The building currently has 58 occupied units out of 227. There are 63 residents in those 58 units, with rents exceeding $8,000 a month. The average rent is over $5,000. The building certainly is not providing housing for the poor. The building is also in serious state of disrepair and safety and is of the utmost concern to Watermark. Originally, it was a dorm in the 1960s for UCLA. The building has been used for over half a century. So the life safety systems in the building have begun to fail, including plumbing, elevators, electrical, and other critical life safety systems. And some of the repairs planned have been required by your leadership. In fact, the seismic upgrades, which our client has determined to do. Watermark has lawfully followed the Ellis Act. In fact, to date, we've already paid out $1.4 million to individuals who have decided to relocate. We've been working with Bethzetic and with the residents and with the council office, and we're hoping to find an amicable resolution. We've already agreed to move the residents back into the property at the same rate that they're currently paying, and in fact, all the increments would be according to if they currently stayed in the building. We believe the residential hotel designation will hinder our ability to keep the residents safe, making it more difficult to repair the building. These repairs have to be made whether or not it's a residential hotel or not. It's going to happen. But the safest path is to repair the building as quickly as possible so that the residents can return to a safe building as soon as possible. And that's what we'd like to see happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now if I can get Mr. Toro and Smarty and Carofel and Bob Mercer, Graham Western. Yes, sir, identify yourself.
Hello, good morning. My name is John Toro, and thank you for time allowing me to speak today. I am the Western Regional Director of Facilities for Watermark. I come to speak to you about the condition of the Westwood Horizons building. I believe I'm uniquely qualified to speak about this matter. Not only is Westwood Horizons one of the buildings in my region today, but prior to starting with Watermark about a year and a half ago, I held a similar position with Vintage Senior Living, the company that owned the building 5 years before selling it to Watermark. I agree with what Mr. Delgadillo said earlier about resident safety being a priority concern for Watermark. The Westwood Horizons building needs a lot of work. Over my tenure with Vintage, only emergency repairs were performed when needed on this building. Unfortunately, that approach, particularly with an old building like this one, results in building systems that stretch to the end of their useful life and beyond. In fact, I can say without hesitation that every building...
Thank you. Everybody gets a minute. Mr. Delgadillo is a former colleague. So if I could have the next speaker, please come forward and identify yourself.
Good morning, council members. My name is Allison Marty, and I'm the executive director at the Watermark at Westwood Village. My 13 years in senior living has been dedicated to ensuring seniors are receiving excellent care and the highest quality of life they deserve. I've been a licensed residential care facility for the elderly administrator in the state of California since 2005, and I've worked in licensed assisted living and memory care communities. I started working at the Westwood community almost 2 years ago. The previous owner, along with Watermark, both recognized the need for this to be a licensed community. I see residents every day who need more care, more services, but I can't provide them because we are not a licensed community. In a licensed community, I can ensure that the caregivers are properly trained, background checks are done, and care plans are carefully executed. I can also keep my residents safe, specifically one who has wandered out to Wilshire Boulevard and didn't know how to find his way back. In a licensed community, I can provide the safety he needs. Can I finish?
Thank you. Next speaker. No, it's 1 minute.
1 minute? Thank
What?
you.
No. It's 1 minute.
Oh.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Kathy Carafel, and I am the Relocation Coordinator at Watermark Westwood Village. I've worked with the community for 3 years in various positions. My number one priority is the well-being of our residents, and I'm here to support them in every way possible throughout the process. As you have heard, all of the folks at Watermark feel for the residents who have been asked to leave their homes while the much-needed renovations to our building are complete. But nobody is more in tune with the residents' concerns and emotions than I. My job is to work with each and every resident to help him or her find a new, hopefully temporary home. While it is difficult disrupting their lives for the renovation work, we know in our hearts that it is in everyone's interest to repair the community and license it. Helping residents find new homes and temporary accommodations during the renovation is way more than a job to me. I'm helping my friends, aka my family. To that end, we've hosted 2 of the housing fairs at the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I could get the next speaker.
Good morning, Council President Wesson and council members. My name is Ellen Isaacs, and my dad, David, lived at Westwood Horizons for 3 years before he died this past fall at the age of 91. I'm here because the residents who are so kind to my dad and me need your help. Westwood Horizons is a rent-controlled building in Westwood where seniors have lived for years. The building was sold last fall, and right before Christmas, new management Watermark posted eviction notices on all of the residents' doors and gave them 4 months to move out, although the law requires 1 year. The panic that resulted was immediate and caused tremendous stress among these elderly residents. Some of the children of residents who are here today got together to figure out how to support our parents. We reached out to Councilmember Koretz and to Beit Tzedek Legal Services. All of the remaining residents wanted to be here today.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Hi, my name is Jane Blumenfeld. My mother, Flossie Liebman, is a resident. She's going to be 96, and she's here today. She's going to be 96 in May. I just wanted to make one point here today. These residents are not asking for something special. They're not asking for something exceptional. They're asking just to follow the law. They all agree with the Watermark people that the building needs to be refurbished and upgraded. Nobody's disputing that. The only thing we're talking about here is how one goes about it. Most developers in LA, who are good developers, do it with accommodating the residents in place and working around them. Tom Safran, who most of you know, has done a very similar project, kept all the residents, all seniors, he kept them all in place while he did a $37 million remodel. Same things that are going to happen here. Many of you went to the grand opening of the block last week, and Wayne Ratkovich, who's also a developer who takes into account the people in his buildings, kept every tenant, every office tenant in there while he did remodeling. We're just saying follow the law.
Thank you. Okay, please identify yourself.
Graham Weston, good morning. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Councilman Koretz, for bringing this motion. My mother, Bernice Weston, has been at the residence for some 10, 12 years, and these are her friends and mine and ours. We are a real community, and we ask you to look at us this way. It was interesting to see the city attorney here. I was happy to see him this morning, although sorry that he's taken the side of a large corporate against 150-odd original senior residents who were in the building. He now talks about 50 residents there. That's because they've pushed out a good portion of them, intimidated them. I'd just like to say, we know what the residential hotel ordinance is and how it protects us. Our building is a residential hotel. It has 6 or more guest rooms that are permanent residences, and the building owners do not pay the transient occupancy tax that commercial hotels pay. It's very clear-cut. We've been asking for this since December, and we ask you not to wait a day longer and really to vote on this today in the affirmative and give us your support. This is very important. I have 2 seconds left. I'll end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I'm looking for Bob, Mercer, Jane, Mom Botch, or ma'am, identify yourself.
My name is Bernice Weston. I've been living at Westwood Horizon for 13 and a half years. I'm a cancer survivor, but I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for my location at Westwood Horizon, so close to UCLA Hospital and all the visiting centers right near Westwood Horizon. To get to my apartment, I have to climb 16 stairs, but it's worth it. Every day, I find the building wonderful. In all the 13 and a half years, we have never had, to my knowledge, any defect or hospital problem.
Thank you. I need the next speaker. Identify yourself.
My name is Jane Mombach. I am the president of the Resident Council. I may not show my anger and my fear by my voice, but we are all really very frightened, very distressed, and emotionally upset about the feeling that we have to evacuate the building. And I do hope that this can be satisfied without this eviction, and we hope to have a settlement where we don't have to leave the building. We understand renovations have to be done, but we feel that we hope we can stay in the building while it's done, and this is our request and our hope, and we certainly appreciate your having us here and listening to this. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have, identify yourself. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Mercer. I'm 87 years old, and I'm representing the younger half of the people here, most of whom are well into their 90s. After looking for a year, our daughters found a place for us. We moved out of our home for 60 years, moved into a 2-bedroom apartment, and those are kind of unusual in this field, incidentally. Now we need, now I'm afraid to say my wife has died and a month ago, and now we need to, my remaining social life is with Watermark, and we need the housing department to declare this a residential hotel and stop the evictions. It's the best way to stop the evictions and keep us in the building. Thank you.
Thank you. So I had a Mr. Gus and Mr. Resnick. Please come forward.
Hi there. Do I only get 1 minute on this? Okay.
Yes.
I represent the much younger people in favor of this. But I want to be the person here who says today that while this is the right thing to do, it should never have happened in the first place. This was elder abuse through your policies from the word go. It should never have happened in the first place. My parents are both elderly, and I will tell you, the only reason it's being remedied right now is because there's a primary in which Mr. Koretz is desperate for his third term. This is a cynical fix. It is the right fix, and I'm in favor of it. But believe you me, if there was not a primary 3 weeks ahead, Mr. Koretz would not be doing this now. You could have prevented it from the word go.
Mr. Resnick? Mr. Resnick? Oh, we have. Go ahead.
I think they submitted cards, but I'm not.
No, I don't have any, but go right ahead, ma'am. Identify yourself.
My name is Flossie Liebman, and I've been a resident at Westwood Horizons for over 6 years, and I'm almost 96 years old. The feeling around is very tortuous and stressful. In fact, there are medical backups for this of feeling ill because of stress. We feel that the whole thing was unnecessary, and we are here today because you can stop this. There is a law that provides protection for all of us, and we just wish that you will enforce this law so we can have peace of mind and live together as a family.
Thank you.
One last speaker before I speak.
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Alicia Weston. My mother has been with Westwood Horizons for more than a decade. And as I watch her take breaks from watching Law and Order and the news, the fabric of her life exists with her community and with everything that is, and that's classes, that's music, that's community. And the idea of taking that away from them, as many have already had done, is the life breath being taken away. So I would urge you to consider that it is more than an inconvenience. It is more than a home and the stress that any of us would feel in moving. But it is everything that they have built over 10 years or in some case 6 months. So please consider that this is everything to them. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the council. My name is Ben Resnick with Jeffer, Mangels, Butler, and Mitchell. I'm here as a volunteer with Betzedek Legal Aid Services on behalf of the seniors. Last October, a new company bought this building and closed escrow for a lot of money and announced that it was going to convert the building to a different use. On the Monday after Thanksgiving, 120 seniors woke up to find tacked on their door a notice that they are to be out in 4 months with all possessions, etc. I read that in the LA Times, and I just fell off my chair. I was shocked. So I'm a volunteer here. So let me tell you the issue and why it seems to be a little unusual. The residential hotel ordinance in the city of LA is a unique ordinance because unlike the state law that deals with residential hotels and only limits itself to low income, your predecessor city council, in adopting this ordinance, specifically expanded the class of people to be protected by the residential hotel ordinance. And your ordinance says low income, seniors, or disabled are protected. The building fits.
Thank you.
The building fits.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Koretz.
Thank you. I'm sure everybody has followed this case. You know it's one of the most outrageous
In
things.
fact, Mr. Koretz, let me hold you to close. I want to recognize Mr. Buscaino.
Yes, if I may. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to recognize and applaud seniors who are here today. I look at you and I think of my 97-year-old grandmother, and if she was to be put in this position, what would she do today? So just know that we support you. We'll do everything we can to ensure that you're not evicted. And there's one individual in this chamber today that has been a champion for you. You know, we talk about superheroes. We see them on Hollywood Boulevard. Brother Mike here has got a couple figurines of a couple superheroes. But the superhero here today before us is your council member, Paul Koretz. And I think he needs to be recognized for his efforts in ensuring that you are protected. So I know the item before us is going to bring in our housing department to see indeed what they can do, if anything. But this is what we sign up for doing. And to respond to the nonsense of this is an election deal, you know, colleagues, every single day is a job interview on what we do. We sign up for this job to be advocates for our constituents, to do what's right. And when something is just not going wrong, it's our responsibility to stand and make it known. And Paul, you've done just that. So I support you, Paul, as we all should, and look at the testimony here before us, and I appreciate our seniors who are here. We owe a debt of gratitude to you, and we're going to stand with you and do everything we can to protect you. Thank you.
Mr. Gilbert Cedillo.
Let me echo the praise. All of you should know that Paul Koretz is a leader for all times. Leadership is about doing the right thing at the right time, and that for those who question this, justice is always timely. And this is a moment where you and your issues are being addressed in the most just manner, and it's a product of this man's leadership. People may not want to hear it, but it is a fact. Justice is about doing, and leadership is about doing what is right at all times, even when people aren't looking. That's the real challenge and the real test. And Paul Koretz, I know you for many years, and I know that in the most quiet moments, in the moments when no one is looking, and no one is listening, no one is paying attention, you do what is right. And that is what is important, and you should not be deterred from doing what is right simply because people are now paying attention. And so this is the most timely thing for all of us colleagues to do, to move forward, to make sure that these men and women who have invested and committed their lives to our city, that in this moment, in this time, that this is the way we should treat them, with the dignity and respect that they have earned, that is given to them by the grace of God, but that they have merited by their contributions to our great city, and we should do no less. Paul Koretz, thank you for your leadership.
Paul, great job, as usual. And I'm going to now ask you to close, even though I don't have a crystal ball, I have a feeling where this vote may go.
I have that feeling too, and I'm very grateful to my colleagues, and thank you for the kind words as well. When I heard about this, I thought this was the most outrageous thing I have ever heard in 29 years in elective office, that a company would buy a building and almost immediately try to evict every single vulnerable senior citizen in it. I thought this was one of the most heartless things I'd ever heard. We've tried to look at different strategies to take this on. We believe this is the strongest one and the one most likely to prevail. And so I ask you to move forward with this motion so we can protect these folks who are courageously here. And I don't think we've had too many people in their 90s testify on issues and call for their own protection and stand up for themselves. But this is a courageous bunch of people, and they and their families deserve the support. So I ask you for your aye vote.
Well said, Mr. Koretz. Now, Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
Twelve ayes.
12 ayes. That is approved. And again, thank each and every one of you for coming down, and your children for coming down as well. Okay, on item 29, we're going to vote on reconsideration. For item 29, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now we're going to actually vote on the item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now let's move to item. I don't have a card on you. Now let's move to item. The next item. Don't disrupt the meeting. Let's move to item 37, I believe it is. Go ahead, Mr. City Attorney.
Mr. President, we already took public comment on this item earlier in the meeting. It was satisfied.
No, you're going to, Please don't disrupt this meeting. Okay, so now we're on item 37. Mr. Koretz, is that you as well? Item 37, we have cards, it's my understanding.
Would you like to hear the cards first?
I have one card on item 37. You want to take the card first? Mr. Gus?
Yeah, I too am not being called for items today, and my general hasn't been called either. Regarding gas and safety issues, council members.
Now let me stop you, Mr. Gus.
Yeah.
Your name has come up twice. You have been called twice.
I've been
You
here.
missed, no. You did. You were not here when we closed general public comment or multi-comment. So that's the way it is. So give him his minute. You can speak on this item. Now go ahead. No, you're not. I'm not going to debate it. You want to speak on this item, speak on it.
Point of procedure for the city attorney.
You want to speak on this item,
Yes,
or you
I
want
do.
to sit down?
I have a point
Then
of procedure.
speak on this item.
Am I
No,
not allowed?
Mr. Gus, last time, you want to speak on this item? Now go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to speak on this item. How about that? Daniel Gus, I have the number one most, for identification purposes only, I have the most read article on City Watch LA this morning. This is another cynical city council effort to mask your neglect of public safety. In the same way that you neglected it in Mitch Englander's district, you have neglected it at this address. The gas and oil that you're seeking to get under wraps now has been poisoning these people in this community. I believe that's why you're squelching my opportunity to speak today. You're doing this now. You've known about it forever. Stop poisoning your residents.
Thank you. Mr. Koretz?
We have time. Thank you, Mr. President, for hearing this item right away, and for Mr. Weezar for waving it out of the Planning Committee. As I'm sure everybody knows, I've been frustrated by the response to oversight of oil and gas operations from city departments for years. The inability of planning and the CEO to address my 2013 motion with Councilmember Bonin, which this council approved in 2015, calling for a moratorium on fracking in the city, was sort of the last straw. This led to my motion also with Mr. Bonin and the council president, calling for the city to hire an oil and gas expert, and the accompanying motion from the council president, which finally led to our hiring of our excellent new petroleum administrator. I appreciate the leadership of the council president and Mayor Garcetti in hiring someone who I believe to be the exact right person to address these problems, and most importantly, protect the health and safety of our constituents. Now that he's on board, we can finally address the very real and systemic problems that have been going on for decades. There's ample evidence from multiple drill sites that planning, building, and safety and the fire department need a comprehensive plan to inspect for permit compliance on this issue throughout the city. My staff and I are working with the council president and are committed to making this happen. I have to admit I'm concerned about the motives of people who are demanding that I ignore the advice of the city attorney. It's the taxpayers of this city who end up paying to fight any lawsuits against the city and who pay enormously if we lose. To ignore the advice of the city attorney while addressing problems with one of the most litigious industries in the world would be ignorant, foolhardy, and recklessly irresponsible. Now, the urgency of the issue before us today is important to the ongoing health and safety of Council District 5 constituents, and especially to the 3 schools which are within 1,500 feet of the site. As we've seen from various recent oil drilling problems around the city, oil production can be a very serious health and safety issue for neighborhoods, as well as a severe climate change problem, and we need to make certain that our city departments who have oversight are on top of it. The issue at the Rancho Park drill site was brought to me by a UCLA professor who's been spending hours conscientiously digging through records and finding substantial flaws in the city's oversight of the industry. To start with, he found that the AQMD, the Air Quality Management District, had issued permits to construct and operate a gas burner at the site, but the city's planning, building and safety, and fire departments had not issued any permits before that happened and did not know that the burner was even there. That's a big problem, considering that building and safety inspectors went out a week ago and found that the burner was indeed on site. The oil company told my staff that the burner was only going to be used for emergency purposes, which is possible, but we found that it was permitted to be used 24/7, 7 days a week. That's a big discrepancy and a big problem, especially considering the emergency purposes box on the form was right beside the general service box, and the professor found that even more unpermitted equipment is likely to be on site. It's incumbent upon companies doing business in the city to follow our rules, or they're meaningless. It is even more incumbent upon our city departments to enforce those rules and fines, or they are meaningless. And it is up to us around the horseshoe to make sure that our city departments do their job. There are 3 schools near the drill site. There's the Fox Film Studio lot, and there are neighborhoods on the other sides. And while I don't want to even pretend that this is anywhere near as bad a situation as some of the other sites in the city, where neighbors and especially children have shown symptoms, such as ongoing chronic health problems and nosebleeds, I do want to be certain that the children at these schools especially are safe, and that all of our other neighborhoods and employees are safe. I also want to be sure that we're doing our jobs as city officials to prevent greenhouse gas emissions in every way possible. I want planning and building and safety and our petroleum administrator to work with any other relevant departments to get to the bottom of this, and if findings show cause at this site, to initiate a nuisance revocation proceeding. We also need to fix this system so that this doesn't happen anymore anywhere, and I'd like to hear a report back on how we are working to fix that. I ask you colleagues for an aye vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. With that said, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. That's approved. Madam Clerk, that brings us where?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted. They are referred. Mr. Koretz?
Yes, Mr. President, if I could get a minute to make an introduction.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hadar Golden, a lieutenant in the IDF, was a Jewish patriot, a humanitarian, and an artist. And he was only 23 when he was killed on August 1st, 2014 in the Gaza Strip by Hamas terrorists, just 2 hours after a ceasefire brokered by the U.S. government and the United Nations. Hamas terrorists dragged his body to an underground tunnel deep in Gaza, where it continues to be a hostage held by Hamas to this day. Hadar was a remarkably gifted young man, a happy and lively person with an easy and winning smile. He was an accomplished painter and graphic artist whose motto in life was strength and humility. And since Hadar was killed over 2.5 years ago, Hadar's parents, Leah and Simcha, who are with us here today, have been working tirelessly to secure the return of the body of their son, to ensure him the proper burial and respect that every human being deserves. Let's if I could ask them to say a couple words.
Yes, go right
as we
ahead, Mr.
introduce.
Koretz.
Good
Welcome.
morning. I'm the mother of Hadar Goldin, which was killed 2.5 years ago. 2 hours after ceasefire was declared between Israel and the Hamas. And these terrorists took advantage of this ceasefire, killed his team, and kidnapped his body into the underground tunnels. This ceasefire was brokered by John Kerry, Secretary of State, and Ban Ki-moon, General Secretary of the UN. So we ask and we request the international community and the U.S. administration to take responsibility of the return of Hadar to decent burial according to his religion in his homeland.
We are talking about basic humanitarian issue. Adar is actually a victim of a ceasefire rather than a victim of a war. And we feel that this is a basic humanitarian issue, violating human rights, violating human dignity, violating all religions, values. And we know that you people in Los Angeles are caring a lot about human rights. So we will appreciate if you take our son as part of your list of people you care about. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Announcements, members, Ms. Martinez?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank colleagues, all of you, for supporting our human trafficking toiletry drive. We filled an entire room full of toiletries for to benefit two organizations, like I mentioned earlier, Journey Out and Saving Innocents. Thank you too, Mr. President. You were very, very generous with your donations. I just want to thank a couple of people that went out of their way to ensure that we got the necessary toiletries to our offices. Of course, Mr. President, thank you for your generous contribution, Mr. Rue, Mr. Price, Mr. Harris Dawson, Mr. Weezer, the Department of Sanitation, the Galpin Ford, the City Planning Metro Development Services Center, Dignity Health, Northridge Hospital, Keys Automotive, Mayor's Office, the Dark Container Corporation, the City Clerk's Office, the Office of Finance, the Treasury Services, Department of Animal Services, Sun Valley Neighborhood Council, St. Mary's Indian Orthodox Church, the 5th grade class of St. Patrick's Catholic Church in North Hollywood, Congressmember Tony Cardenas, Veronica Perez, Samantha Martinez, Kathy Voss, Christina Conover, Jennifer Cruz, Ice Dolls, Vanessa Lopez, Diane Han, Arturo Garcia, and Lois Larkson, and to all those who felt the need to put in your contribution throughout City Hall. We had bins both on the 4th floor and the 3rd floor, and people made sure that every day whatever they had to contribute went in those bins, and I really appreciated. This is not only about raising awareness, but these toiletries will go a long way for kids that we rescue off the streets that impact every single one of our districts. So I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
No, we appreciate you for taking the lead on issues such as this. So thank you, and we're all happy to hear that it was successful. Other announcements? If we could all rise. We can all rise for adjourning motions. I'm looking to my left, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, I have two adjourning motions. Colleagues, first I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Muriel Ogeen, 93 years old, passed away on February 10th in her home in San Pedro, where she lived for over 60 years. She was an accomplished artist, well known for her oil paintings, murals, banners, and prints, an integral part of establishing the Angels Gate Cultural Center in San Pedro and the Palos Verdes Art Center. She was a past president of the LA Paintmaking Society and active in the Women's Caucus of the Arts, and was a founding member of the Loft Studios and Gallery in San Pedro over 20 years ago. Muriel was married to John, as we call them, Mr. San Pedro Ogeen. They traveled the world, rode to Catalina numerous times, and slept outside together for 40 years. She started backpacking in her late 60s and reached the summit of Mount Whitney twice, even though she had only had one lung. The John M. and Muriel Ogeen campus, which is a marine science magnet in San Pedro, is named in their honor. Muriel is survived by her three children, V, Moni, and John Ogeen, grandchildren Micah Ogeen, Tanaya, Molly, and Michelle, and two great-grandsons, Harlan and Oran. She loved and appreciated life in all forms. Viewing will be held at McNerney's Mortuary on February 16th from 5 to 7. Memorial service will be held at the First Presbyterian Church this Friday at 11 a.m. Muriel Ogeen, may she rest in peace. And lastly, if I may, Yolanda Mackey passed away peacefully at her home on February 6th with her family by her side. Born to Salvatore Meneo and Caterina Guerra in 1932 in Tripoli, Sicily. Yolanda was the eldest of 7 siblings. Her family moved to Marettimo, Sicily in 1941, where she attended school, sang in the church choir, discovered her talent of sewing. In 1955, she migrated to America, and with her brother Domenico, joining their father in Monterey. In 1959, she returned to Sicily and married the love of her life, Michele. Yolanda and Michele began their new life together in Monterey, later settling in San Pedro in 1961, where Michele was a fisherman, and Yolanda continued her love of sewing, working as a seamstress. In 1966, her one and only daughter, Sarah Linda, was born. She is survived by her husband of 57 years, Michele, her daughter Sarah, son-in-law Rico, granddaughters Christina and Samantha Lauro, sister Lydia, brothers Domenico and Peter, and numerous nephews and nieces. She is preceded in death by her parents, brother Francesco, sisters Maria and Josephine, and her nephew Vince. Visitation will be this Thursday at 4 p.m. with the Rosary at 7 p.m. at McNerney's and funeral mass at Mary Star of the Sea Catholic Church, February 17th at 10:30. Her generous heart and big smile will truly be missed. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'd like to ask us today to adjourn in memory of Jack Rosenbaum. Jack was a resident of Santa Monica, but he was incredibly well known throughout the entire West Side. He had a career when he was younger. He died at age 85, working for Sunshine Specialty Foods and Baxter Healthcare. He was active with Jewish Big Brothers, Vista Del Mar Child Care, and the United Way, but he was known on the West Side, particularly in the 12-step community, for his work in helping people to get sober. He was in a movement in a community that prides itself on anonymity. Jack was a bit of an anomaly because he was a sort of a 12-step celebrity. He achieved 34 years of sobriety in AA, was one of the founders of Nicotine Anonymous here in Los Angeles, served on the board of Clare Recovery Center in Santa Monica for 32 years, was chairman of the board from 2010 to 2017, was active with the Sober Living Coalition and the Salvation Army Adult Recovery Center. Jack, in AA, there's a tenet that our primary responsibility is to stay sober and to help other people achieve sobriety. Jack literally lived that. After he retired, that was his mission in life. If you were new to Los Angeles, if you were newly sober, someone would inevitably give you Jack's phone number, and he would have not met you, but he would return your call, and he would say, "Where is your address? I'm going to pick you up now." And he would bring people to meetings, 90 meetings in 90 days, without knowing them. And he did that particularly for young people, young men on the West Side. And there are generations of people who were guided in their sobriety and their life transformation by Jack. He was one of a kind. I remember when I was a year sober and was trying to quit cigarettes, I called him, and he said, "Well, come with me to a Nicotine Anonymous meeting tonight." And I said, "I can't. I have to work tonight." And he corrected me. He said, "You don't have to work tonight. You get to work tonight." Because there was a time in your life when you didn't get to work, and there's a time in your life where you won't get to work if you don't walk the straight and narrow. The Facebook remembrances of Jack, all the young people who were touched by him are enormous. When someone is newly sober and they wander into the rooms for the first time, they're scared or they're rebellious or there's a whole range of emotions. And Jack was, an uncle figure or a grandfatherly figure who guided a lot of people. He drove them around in his convertible Camaro, had a big pool table at his house, and just created a life and a warm place for folks. He will be remembered with a combination memorial service, potluck, storytelling celebration, Saturday the 25th from 1 to 4 p.m. at Gilbert Hall at Palisades High School. May Jack rest in peace and walk forever in the sunlight of the Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm continuing. Mr. Bloomingfield.
Thank you. Today I also ask that we adjourn in the memory of Jerry Fecht. He is someone who founded the Museum of the San Fernando Valley, and he had a deep and abiding love for the entire city of Los Angeles. Gerald, or we called him Jerry Fecht, was born in Mexico, but not the country. There's actually a small town in Missouri called Mexico where he was born in 1938. With his parents and siblings, he moved to California in his teens to pursue opportunities for a better life. His educational path led through Notre Dame High School, Los Angeles Valley College, and USC, where he earned a bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees. He met the love of his life, Janae Shreves-Fecht, and while they were studying for their teaching credentials. They were married for 49 years and raised 2 sons, Brendan and Damon. Dr. Jerry, as many called him, enjoyed a long and much heralded career as a professor at Moore Park College. He founded the Museum of the San Fernando Valley back in 2005. Originally, it was a collaboration among various historical societies in the valley, but the museum got a brick-and-mortar home in Northridge back in 2014. Also in retirement, Jerry volunteered for AIDS Life Cycle. He enjoyed time with his grandchildren. He explored every inch of Los Angeles, a city that he loved so dearly. On January 26th, he lost his long battle with amyloidosis at the age of 78. He's survived by his wife, Janae, his sons, Brendan and Damon, his daughter-in-law, Rebecca, his grandchildren, Jake and Emily, and his brother, Robert. A memorial service was held on Saturday, February 11th. His family has requested donations to the Museum of the San Fernando Valley or the Amyloidosis Foundation. In his memory, may he rest in peace.
Mr. Englander.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to add my condolences, my name to that as well. He's a very dear friend, and I remember setting up the museum with him, and he called right away and said, well, we found a place. The good news is we found a place. The bad news is we need the first monthly deposit for rent. So, of course, you know, we did that, and I know, and everybody came out to support the ribbon cutting, and he used to have all the World War veterans come out, and not only could you walk through the museum, and he had this incredible collection of memorabilia and photos, but he'd bring the vets out as well. And he'd partner with other nonprofits and organizations like Wings Over Wendy's and have art out there and all those guys, and has done so many great things. So may he rest in peace, and happy to add my name to that. Thank you.
If we can get the clerk's office to give us a double signature on that adjourning motion. Now I'm looking to my right side. Are there any adjourning motions to my right? I do not see any. Members, this meeting is adjourned.